And we're back. We're back and we are live. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to my live stream. Or welcome to my live stream. That is the title of the stream. As always, the music playing in the background is called Welcome to the Show. Oh wait, I'm looking at OBS right there. My bitrate, it's not all green. So it's Welcome to the Show, and it's by Kevin MacLeod, and it's licensed under Creative Commons 4.0. You can download it for free at incompetech.com. So if you're looking for music for your projects, there you go. You can go and check out music made by Kevin MacLeod. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Let's see what's happening in the gaming space. And how do we do that? Well, by checking out my YouTube front page. Okay, so what is this? We have one here from Heel versus Babyface, Afternoon with AZ. RuPaul's Dragon Age in Trouble, Concord, actually. Oh, okay, so this is a live stream. Oh my goodness, that is gonna be very long. Deleted video evidence from Smash JT. Okay, let's go check this out. Okay, it's Sweet Baby Inc. Smash JT is milking every drop he can milk from Sweet Baby Inc.
Sometimes it feels like gamers just can't win, especially in the modern era where agendas being pushed, propaganda being propped up there, and we have journalists that are activists at the end of the day that have finagled their way into an industry that, let's be honest, they don't even care about the games that they're covering. As long as they're able to insidiously inject themselves into this industry, that's all they care about, because with that, they can push
a bunch of assholes.
Welcome to another episode.
It's a bunch of assholes invading
I was researching information for this
our hobby, our entertainment, our pastime.
Ubisoft, and interviewing ex-employees of Sweet Baby Inc., but not disclosing that, and of course hating on gamers, because that's what they always do. They target and attack.
That is so stupid. You're making a product for gamers that you hate.
And the
It doesn't make sense, and when it doesn't make sense,
inside they can't stand
it's stupid.
While I was researching this character, Kazuma Hashimoto, the rabbit hole.
Okay, so it's the same guy.
I couldn't believe just how much information.
Again, content creators are making bank from covering this topics.
That he didn't think
this topic of
would find
insanity, stupidity, and retardation.
Really thorough, because I want to make sure I get the story right. Oh, and if I ever do mess up, I'd like to think I come forward and say, hey, I messed up on that. I want to do better next time. I feel like a lot of these activists that pose as journalists could learn a thing or two from that. But I digress.
They're not journalists, JT. Stop calling them journalists. Just call them writers. They're gaming writers.
Didn't work on Assassin's Creed Shadows, yet was being used as a source for the New York Times, and also how he was a contractual worker for over 3 years at Sweet Baby Inc. But most importantly, the biggest takeaway that I got from it was that he is being impacted now in future employment opportunities and has to leave Sweet Baby Inc. off the resume, because if employers found out that he worked there, they wouldn't want to hire him.
Good.
Hit that subscribe, give me a like.
That is a good thing.
To be full.
You don't want assholes working for your business.
This kazoo
Because if you hire assholes, they will destroy your business. Because instead of
over today's
working to make money for your business,
audio
they will sabotage it and they will make things that no one will want to buy.
the repercussions of like someone finding this Twitch channel and then linking it to me and just having a bad time because of it. I doubt it will happen because
I have zero empathy when it comes to assholes.
about any of that, which is good. I'm glad that I did that because I wouldn't want people
Maybe if they were lied to,
why I did this
you know, but
the information
obviously
on this stream gives
they know what they're doing. They know what they signed up for.
and the industry professionals are starting to push back against DEI-driven narratives that have been insidiously seeping into game development over the past few years. During that Twitch stream, Hashimoto begrudgingly discussed his struggle to find work after his stint at Sweet Baby Inc.
Why? You made a lot of money.
Tepid
From
individual
what I've heard, like Sweet Baby Inc. was asking what, $7-8 million from Black Myth Wukong.
or
That
her.
is a lot of money.
Not even sure about that one, but regardless of that, this person is definitely dealing with a lot of demons inside of them.
you know, I'm getting by. Last night was bad.
Oh, come on.
Of like a
I'm
depressive
pretty sure you have like
bipolar disorder.
hundreds of thousands of dollars in your bank account.
For other things, he talks about this, and it's about a 50
You guys made a lot of money from all the crap you injected in all the games that were released in prior years.
kind of giving the mantra of wishing that he never worked there in the first place, but at the same time also kind of confused about life in general and just kind of aimless with a direction.
I've done consultant work under Sweet Baby Inc. And I've written for Polygon and IGN. And those are apparently like the three big alt-right flags. Well, I can say that I didn't...
What do you mean alt-right? There's no such thing as alt-right. It's just common sense, dude. It's common sense. You write things that doesn't make sense. Guess what? Your actual audience or readers won't like it.
It's really, really weird.
When he starts talking about how Sweet Baby Inc.
See, this is how they operate. This is the MO. They
exactly
do stupid things and then when they are called out,
starting to finally
suddenly they become the victim.
himself out.
It's the same MO used by the Chinese government. That's why I always say that there are parallels between wokeness and communism.
And it's just...
Look at him. Look at him. He's now a victim. Oh, poor me. No one wants to hire me because I was just trying to make good. I was just trying to educate people.
Instead of being...
But the alt-right, I have no idea who those alt-right is, really.
potential person giving you the contract.
They're just people with common sense that don't want your bullshit in their games. Imagine if we suddenly start putting a lot of
impacting Sweet Baby.
other things that don't matter in games.
They're just ignoring it because they
Even if you are not from the left
don't care.
and you're from the right and you start injecting things that don't matter in a game, guess what?
Every time one of
Everyone will not like it.
Is a very good word for it.
The reaction will be the same.
It doesn't materially affect our work, right? The vast majority of these companies all
What's with the stupid she-her? You are obviously a she-her. What are you, an it-they?
our baseline,
This is so stupid, my goodness. This is aggravating.
comfort level with which we can exist in online spaces.
And they're a bunch of assholes.
it behooves her to. I mean, obviously she's not going to say, "Holy crap, everything's impacting us and our business is failing," because then she wouldn't be able to try to find new work.
Well, their business is failing because they are a bunch of assholes.
Associate with any of these consultancy groups, so they're going to ignore
No one wants to work with assholes.
Dory in hopes that they can continue to pull the wool over the eyes of more developers in the future.
do employers know the law is on their side? It's well, the thing is, like, I don't think there are many places that will take retaliatory actions other than, like, Bungie did it. But I don't. Bungie's and it's a mess of a company, but they absolutely went to bat for their employees at one point. And when you're a contractor, they're not obligated to. That's the thing. I'm not like a full-time employee or anything, so it's just kind of like, he did a thing, okay, we wash our hands of it, you know? It sucks. It really sucks.
But developers are becoming extremely cautious and realizing that
Whoa, poor me.
narratives in these consultancy
No one wants to hire me because I did this terrible thing.
if they didn't work with them. And as the times have changed and the pendulum started swinging back, now they're worried about being canceled if they do.
A couple of months ago, the New York Times actually got in touch with me to ask me about Assassin's Creed, in which I was like, yeah, reception's honestly, like, kind of positive. And a lot of the comments you'd see under videos were, like, straight up, like, Google Translate comments.
And then Hashimoto starts going into talking about how he never worked on Assassin's Creed Shadows, but yet for some reason, the New York Times used him as the source of truth for something that he was completely fabricating lies about, how apparently people in America and around the world were making up fake accounts to try to impact online interactions in Japan. Like, sure, I'm sure a couple or a few people were doing it, but the way Hashimoto is talking about it is like, no, it's not an issue at all in Japan. That was all people in America just trying to cosplay as Japanese people to make this a bigger issue than it really was.
And, like, people are, like, annoyed with some of the inconsistencies and issues in Shadows, which is, like, you know, the buildings and stuff being wrong, or certain clothing and whatnot, right? Or the fact that the art team basically stole a sign from a reenactment in Japan.
Dude,
That's actually, like, pretty cool.
the budget for the game is like hundreds of millions of dollars. You're not even allowed to make stupid mistakes like that. And yeah, sure, maybe one or two, but once you find that there are mistakes, you fix it.
This Twitch
It's
stream,
not an indie game.
it feels like not only is this person suffering from severe mental issues and probably some trauma that happened at some point in their life, but that doesn't even matter here or there. The bigger issue is they're
It doesn't matter.
as baggage and bringing it on board to other companies. And these developers,
So if he experienced something, you know,
and then
in his past life, does it excuse him from being an asshole?
real gamers that want
Come on.
experiences and don't want them to be ruined by someone that doesn't really care about gaming. As it got uncovered in my previous video about this Hashimoto character,
They were deliberately injecting their messaging, thus ruining the games itself.
of course they are, because just like all these other journalists out there in the game industry, they have
Not journalists.
propaganda and a narrative they want shoved out there, and they will do whatever it takes to get there. And then when it all comes crashing down on them, they go and cry saying, oh, everyone's so mean to me, no one understands me, everyone just wants everything to be bad, and I just want things to be good out there. Because the reality,
Oh, I'm a victim.
they go to the same result every time: protected mode,
That is a problem. They don't know how to
death threats, and all these
accept responsibility from their action.
facing reality and saying,
They do something
and where I'm working at,
that is not acceptable,
I should be.
and when people react,
That firsthand, and getting your ass
suddenly they are victims.
somewhere else where you might actually be happier. But then again, by doing that, you can't push your message and your agenda and your narrative. And that, at the end of the day, is all you want to do. And this right here, this Twitch stream that I found, exposes all of that. And I, for one, am so grateful to see that the game industry is starting to recognize that Sweet Baby Inc. and similar consultancy groups are not needed, not wanted, and should be shut down immediately. And the whole game industry will be so much better when that glorious day comes. I'm going to leave it there. If you guys want more information, check out smashjt.com for the full exhaustive article on it. If you appreciate what I'm doing, hit that join button. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.
I also, like, oh God, I also recently, like, watched a friend kind of go down, like, the quote-unquote anti-DEI pipeline, and it really sucked because what he was talking about was just him having a problem with like modern art direction and like...
What is modern art direction? Is it better than the previous year's modern art direction? Nah, what they're talking about here is how they design their characters and how they inject their politics in their character design. So to them that is modern art design. That is modern to them. Making things is quite simple actually. Just you have an audience, you have a target audience, for example, and you want to maximize your earning potential, the money you make. You must make something that will appeal to the majority of your audience, not to the the minority, not to the 1% of your audience. You will not make money that way. It's not a hard concept. As they say, it's not rocket science. You'll just have to use a little bit of common sense. Okay, I want to make a game, and I want to, I want a lot of a big portion of the audience to enjoy it. I know. I'm going to, make it for the modern audience. So you want a game and you want a lot of people to play it, but you're making it for the modern audience. It doesn't make sense. You will not make money that way. Anyway, going to give this video by JT a like. And this one is Star Wars TV. Over here we have Legal Mindset. This is like 2 hours. It's a live stream and it's not about gaming. New backers, this is the reality of playing Star Citizen. Okay, going to see this. Star Citizen. Let's go check this out.
Hey people, welcome to the channel, and fair warning, full disclaimer, this is a video that is promoting Star Citizen.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Show you how to start playing Star Citizen.
Okay.
Advice I could possibly give you, and how things will be once you start playing. So make no mistake, this is me being basically a shill for...
There you go.
I warned you, I'm shilling,
At least he is admitting that he is a shill.
A stake in this, as if I would benefit from this. In fact, if you want to start playing, you can do that right now. Go with the link there below in the description.
I'm sorry, but not anyone can play this game. This game is made for the gamers with modern machines. Not the modern audience, but gamers with modern machines.
You can click on that thing. You can use my referral, which I know a lot of people love when I mention that I have still the referral from CIG. Yes, use it when you start playing, right? Now, having said all of that, I will give...
Come on, show me what the real gameplay of Star Citizen looks like. Show me the jankiness of the game. Show me ships clipping to platforms.
The game is and what it is not at this point.
Show me NPCs or characters just floating around.
That's the nature around here in this channel.
I wanted to be a truthful
stupid menu
tutorial of starting the game.
Internet. Apparently, you will get to the Play Store where you will find your game package. I told people that Yeah.
Oh my goodness, look at that. $100 for a ship.
Yes, but I was recommending people.
So basically, that's how you get into the game. You buy a ship. The cheapest one is $45.
For $60. This is probably what I would get if I would start playing Star Citizen right now. Honestly, if I'm a new player,
Again, if you are thinking of playing Star Citizen, you better check the system requirements.
bad place.
Make sure your machine can handle the awesomeness of Chris Roberts. By the way, I like Chris Roberts. One of my favorite games of all time was designed by Chris Roberts, and that is Freelancer.
But hey, freedom above all. I'm a big believer in freedom, in free market, in capitalism, and you making your own choice if you want to start playing. Yeah, if you think that any of this that you've seen lately that I've uploaded into the channel is worthy of your money and your time, by all means, start playing. And yeah, this is the advice. I would avoid this one. I would go with the Titan because it used to be that the Titan was definitely worth it, right? Things that I already explained in my longer format video, but I want to make a shorter video.
What I would do is you start with the $45 one, okay? Because you can earn the other ships in the game.
Jackal Starter. Well, that suit will be lost immediately.
That would be my recommendation as someone who's not playing the game.
And that suit will be lost. You will not have a way.
It just makes sense, right? Since you can buy the game, the other ships within the game, just start playing. Buy the $45 one, start playing, get the credits, or maybe go to find a wealthy Star Citizen player and ask him for credits. Hey, can you loan me
You follow my advice. You arrange your time. You start
10 million credits
that it's not nearly as
for a hamburger today, and I'll pay you Tuesday?
trailers are things that are not in game anymore. The kind of comment you have now with master modes, it is, as they call it, World War II style, which in their own minds, in World War II, people fought in slow motion apparently, and it is boring. It is the arcadiest of the arcadiest ship combat type of games. No Man's Sky has more realistic physics than Star Citizen right now. But beyond that, let's say, oh, I'm not a combat guy. I don't care. I just want to fly around and do cargo hauling. Well, good luck with that. You will do some of the missions in which you will get maybe 10, 15k. After several hundred hours of playing, eventually maybe you will be able to upgrade to one of these ships. And then after several hundred hours more, then you realize that what you have to do is...
It's not a problem spending hundreds of hours in the game, because
Forever, this is not even fun anymore. But hey,
by the time you get enough money, maybe the game is already released.
yeah, you upgrade to that. You go to the pledge store, you go...
No, what you do is you look at the store and buy the most expensive game, the most expensive ship. Buy a capital ship,
and then
so that you'll have like a really big ship in space.
that is when you realize that one of the newest features CIG came up with was you being an idiot for spending almost $300 because you cannot really play the game. You can't really move boxes with any kind of reasonable agility. You have to buy the Argo Atlas. And this is something you cannot buy in game. You have to buy it with...
Whoa! So they have ships that you can't buy from the game?
Okay.
Unable to connect. You got banned, dude. You got banned.
You realize that what you have to do now is buy an Atlas. What is that thing? I want to suit up, Chris. I want to suit up. Well, for suiting up, you will have to spend $45 because the only way you buy this is with real money in the website. It is not available in game. No. So it's another $45 to get into something that looks out of Alien.
Aliens. It's something. It's a clone.
Complicated to make in a game.
Anyway, why would I want to buy that? What is the purpose of that thing?
Which is
Will that make me
that moves shit or has shit.
invincible? Will it give me
Instead of having
Homelander's plot armor power?
something that they hyped for years they would do, they just said, no, we're not doing the ship chewing, ship munching. Literally, that's what they call it, ship munching. For years, they lied to people about eventually having ship munching. Then they scrapped that, and they did ships just disappearing because of a beam of light that just boom and just disappears. That is CIG in a nutshell, guys. It's gonna be a huge money pit for you to try to have fun. And
Come on, I thought you're going to show everyone how to start playing the game.
because there's really no progression. There's no fun because I'm not achieving things. I'm not getting good at things in terms of PvP or even PvE.
So there are no levels.
I didn't do much PvP.
There are no skills.
Fun to go against the game. Go against the game.
What does the game have or has?
Your little titan and being able to defeat those.
Just earning credits.
And eventually even getting good at PvP every once in a while when someone attacked you and you would get killed all the time for.
Nah, okay, so here's how you become good in PvP.
And then one day, what do you know? Well, I actually
You get
fight back and beat the guy with it.
you get a better ship. You buy a better ship.
Or my little Aurora.
And you bring along your buddies.
Guy that spend
Okay. Nothing beats a 10-to-1 match.
yeah. The guy that's actually good can defeat you no matter what you buy. No, we can't have that happen. No, you always have to be the winner when you bought the latest ship. Oh, so that makes me a winner for no. It makes you a badass and an OG and a Chad for a few weeks. And then they nerf it and then they sell something else. They nerf the ship you had before that was the big dog, the one that allowed you to beat everyone that was even better than you based on skill alone before all of this happened. Now, the best guy out there is the one that just bought the latest ship. And that's how they...
What? The best guy is the one who bought the latest shit? Seriously. He didn't tell us how to start the game. I thought he was going to show us. Maybe I understood what the purpose of the video is. Anyway, I'm going to give it a like because it was kind of funny. I made a little chuckle. Anyway, let's close this one. Again, to all the Star Citizen fans out there, I have nothing against Star Citizen. I like Star Citizen, and I'm following the development of Star Citizen. Because again, as I've said, I'm a big fan of Freelancer. I still have it installed on my PC. And I've finished it like a few times already. Right now, I was doing, before I stopped playing games, I was doing a modded version of the game. I completed after completing the main game. Of course, after you completed the game, you can still continue playing it because it's an open universe or an open galaxy game. It's an open world game. But after you finish the main story, of course, you won't have any more, compelling stories. You'll just have generic missions that you can get from the bar, from the pirates, from the different military and police groups. But you can continue playing the game. Or you can install a mod that will, especially a mod that will extend or expand the story of Freelancer. It's a good game. Not sure if you can still buy it. Honestly, maybe I don't know who. It's Microsoft. Microsoft owns the license or IP. Maybe Microsoft should, I don't want them to remaster it or remake it because, yeah, it might become a different game. Maybe just release the game or put the game in GOG or in Steam. I'm pretty sure some people will still get a few sales from it. Because it's a really fun game to play. It's not perfect, but it's fun. You will enjoy the basic space combat of it. The space combat wasn't complicated. This has to stop. GDC advisor says, okay, GDC games done quick. Is that it? Oh no, that is GDQ. I wonder who this guy is. White men and gatekeepers. Why is it always white men? It's not only white men who are getting mad or frustrated about all this woke shit. Okay, it's not just white men. For some weird reason, these people are focusing on white men. When if you just do a search in YouTube, and you'll find a lot of content creators that are not white having the same reactions, the same stance, the same opinion regarding all this woke shit, regarding all these assholes, regarding all this DEI, or what I like to call DIE, because if your game was touched by DEI, it's going to DIE. Okay, what is this? Pay station is crazy. What do you mean pay station? I don't get it. Going to watch this one. It's by a reaction by Asmon Gold.
So, I don't know if you guys knew this, but the PS5 Pro was originally only going to be $500, but because of Concord, now it's $700 because they have to make the money.
Really? Is this true?
I'm reading a YouTube thumbnail that says that.
Okay.
It must be true. I don't believe that.
You got me there, Asmon Gold. I thought it was true. Again. my guess is this video is for entertainment. Actual gameplay. Oh, look at that.
Hi, I'm Mark Cerny, and I'm excited to be here. At PlayStation,
Oh my goodness, it's AI?
unless you own discs, then it does. Tangible, circular limits.
Yeah,
To reflect
true.
this, we've limited the supply of external
That's smart because you would put them sideways.
disk drives over time and added a premium to the prices.
Yeah.
Which means we had to jack up the price of digital games to
It's AI.
no pesky manufacturing costs involved,
That's
like a
right.
disc, case, or original artwork. Also, you wouldn't complain about being charged a
Yeah.
premium for your precious hard copies. You're welcome.
How funny is it that this video is obviously fucking dated, and it's still the most recent Grand Theft Auto?
Once upon a time, game devs and publishers were
Is it AI or is it just old?
finished product.
I think it's AI. The guy sounds like AI.
Publishers are even bigger.
Oh, yeah.
And that leads to an aspect of modern gaming that we're all familiar with. Blockbuster bloat.
Ooh.
These days, just like the movie,
Who the hell is that guy? Is that Penguin?
Every game has to be the new Grand Theft Auto. Every game, every movie has to be the new MCU. Like, isn't it? It's actually so sad for me to see other like movie studios try to copy the MCU.
You can't copy something that was caught
Especially DC Comics.
by a bottle, or something like
So embarrassing.
the MCU is like a lightning in a bottle.
have that much
It's rare, and
Oh god.
after
copying it is gonna be difficult.
has to succeed.
So even the latest movies that came out from the MCU after Endgame was
Has to pass
bad. Eternals, bad. The Marvels, bad.
Unfortunately, when appeal is your only goal, satisfaction often falls by the wayside.
Spider-Man: No Way Home. Well, that is more like a Sony movie,
I've seen a peacock in real life.
and everyone loves Spider-Man. Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, it was made before,
Seen one of
you
these
know,
things, man.
before everything went to shit.
I went to one of them. I was doing like this. Just trying to make him do it. It didn't work.
You might be thinking, you're right, modern games
it?
already
Nah,
look great.
yeah.
We don't need to pay $700 for better graphics. What we need is better
I've never seen someone that plays Horizon. Like, is there anybody here that actually plays this game? Because, like,
Maybe the assholes who made it.
I want to try it out because it's like this game. I hear about it all the time. I never see anybody play it or care about it or talk about it ever.
better graphics. What we need
God,
is
that
better
was such a
stories,
good fucking fight.
more creative gameplay, and
That
more
game sold the
affordable
PS5.
games. We need passionate game
Ooh.
developers who love the art of gaming, not just those driven by profit.
Demon Souls, there it is.
I say, fuck that noise. It's not
True.
$700. It's $6.99.
That's right.
Bro, no one is holding a gun to your head.
That's the oldest PlayStation fanboy.
I'm sure an Xbox Series X will run GTA 6 at 60 FPS no problem. Just kidding.
Yeah.
It won't run at 60 FPS on the PS5PRO either.
I love how, like, 60 FPS is still being used as the benchmark. Like, I really think that for playing a video game, my experience playing a video game is, like, massively improved when I'm playing at 120 plus FPS. Like, I am having a genuinely better experience.
Sure, Asmongold, because you're a gamer with a modern machine.
Gamers out
Sadly, not everyone was blessed with a modern machine.
What people really want.
Yes, you'll have to upgrade your screen before you can appreciate it.
Wait. Yeah, actually, wait a second. Yeah, both of these suck.
And they will. I'm
Oh,
fucking
wow.
Ahab, son. And we're here hunting whales.
Oh.
Some people don't want to change their lives. Some people just want to escape them. You see, the
God damn, bro. That goes so hard. So I guess this might be for, like, the Dreamcast or, like, the GameCube or something?
Just look at that line.
Oh, is that... I think it's an
Do you see any females in that line?
midnight releases? Yeah.
That is your audience right there.
Is it
answer,
Dreamcast?
your
And it's not all white men.
desire to dive in there.
I saw some colored or black people in the line as well.
The big three involved, the results can be pretty amazing. Which brings us to our new guiding principle. Pay has no limits.
Man.
Do you want to go through all
Man.
that hard work, the brushing the teeth and wiping the ass of your soul, so you can actually have a nicer life?
Healthy
or
young
do
man.
you just want a shiny digital world where you can go to admire the ray tracing? When
Man. So that's what PlayStation...
This video is awesome.
Yep.
your real life gets too
That's
real.
the user right there.
Making that decision, or at least narrowing that divide, is one of the key targets.
I'm now pretty certain that it's AI.
More compute power than the PS5.
Imagine AI making something like this.
Expensive. It's $500 for the hardware with the $199 Concord tax. Units will almost fill the Concord-shaped hole in our corporate hearts. You mofos are gonna pay for that situation one way or the other, and the PS5PRO.
I wonder if the people at PlayStation are like mad at the fans because the fans didn't buy Concord. They're like, I can't believe that they don't.
If they are mad because people or gamers did not buy Concord, well, they're part of the problem.
Also,
They're also a bunch of assholes.
is only in the
And I hope they're not.
GPU is
Because
bottleneck
there are already a lot of assholes in the gaming industry.
One of my favorite things is when people don't really understand how computers work and they just look at one thing and they say, wow, this one thing is really good. Like, my computer has a lot of RAM. Which is like, I get that. Like, I used to think that was like 14, right? Or 15. Because, like, back then I didn't really know a lot about computers. But, like, man, you do that? No, I don't. What do you mean? I do not. I have like a state-of-the-art PC with an Intel processor.
19's Control. Speaking of, let me wrap this up by giving you a quick look at a number of games running on the new console. Behold, the wonder of our new pisser technology. Pisser. Enhance. Enhance again. Enhance again. Pisser. Enhance. Enhance again. See that?
Oh, this is
It's
good.
as crisp as a
Oh,
$699 bill,
Wow, you can
baby.
see the money.
Simply put, the PS5 Pro comes in at only $699. Sure,
November
your disk
7th.
drive is another $80. We always display it vertically in our advertising, so you're gonna want the vertical stand for another $30, and
Of
that's
course.
only $809 all in.
No, like, by the time that you're out of checkout, you're down $1,000. You're down $1,000 because you're buying the game. You're buying a game, you're buying the console, you're buying the stand, you're buying the disk drive, you're paying for shipping, maybe, you're paying for tax. Yeah, you maybe get an extra controller, you could be getting the online, you're done. Like, you're out $1,000 on this. By the way, I need to buy one of these. I'm gonna unbox them on the
If
first.
I'm going to buy and spend $1,000, which I don't think I'll ever have, but I'll buy a PC instead. I can do more with a PC.
That would be sick as fuck. It would be.
And internet access is free. I'm not sure if to access the network, the internet network, or the network from a PlayStation console requires a subscription to their,
Pokemon card unboxing.
paid service or not. I'm not quite sure though.
He bought like a $20,000 box of Pokemon cards. Then he got an expensive one, and he folded it and tore it in half and put it in like a bowl of oil or something. He took like a bite out of it. The Charizard? Yeah. Just put it in the dirt.
Justified
Oh, it
consort
was
red
lube.
at
Oh,
a
that's right.
reasonable frame rate.
Because I remember somebody sent
But
him a
we're
bunch of
only
lube.
doing this so when we announce the PS6 is $999, no
Yeah.
disk drive option, featuring digital-only, online-only versions of the games you already love, with new always-on DRMs implemented that could shut down at any time we can fit in the future, it'll be
If they
less of a
decide
shock
to.
to your system. You'll own nothing and be happy.
Wow. I've heard that before.
Sony, for the payers.
Man.
Power buttons sold separately.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
It's crazy how good Sony was that generation. What the fuck happened to them? What the fuck, man?
Greed. Greed happened.
Am I right?
Just like
Just remember,
2014 or
everybody,
something.
What
There's like making money and there's greed.
good old days too. May the Lord have.
Once you get a taste of money, greed will slowly creep in. You'd want more money and even more money. And then you are addicted to it, that you are doing anything and everything you can to get the money.
Of mercy on our souls.
God, that's bad.
Also, thanks to
That's
these
real
dudes
bad.
and dudettes, you Patreonos really
jeez.
do grease the wheels of justice.
Okay, going to give the video a like here.
Man.
That was a good video. Okay, I'm not talking about Asmongold's reaction. The video he is reacting to. It was funny actually. Okay, what do we have here? What is this? Concord 400 million budget finally makes sense. It's an Asmongold clip, but going to check this one first because this one looks interesting. It's the battle between Pokemon and Pal World. Nintendo is suing Pal World for a patent, and one of those patents involve riding a bike in a virtual world. There you go, guys. Nintendo owns the patent for riding a bike in a virtual world. Oh my goodness. Second Life is gonna get sued because a few days ago I was like riding a bike in a virtual world of Second Life. I'm just kidding, but there was something like that there.
So earlier today, Nintendo filed a patent infringement lawsuit against Pocket Pair, the creator of Pal World. For what patent specifically?
I don't know how laws work in Japan.
The current assumption is going
So we may think that Pal World will
on the Pokeball
win this one,
same function.
but no one knows.
And
Unless, of course, someone in Japan who knows the laws of Japan will can explain it to everyone.
this is extremely concerning because this is not a patent for a Pokeball. This is a patent for creature capture. So essentially what that means and what this goes over is essentially if you throw an object at another object, the initial object can capture the other object and store it. It will then switch function and allow you to throw that object again and release the captured entity to perform a function. So this is essentially the system for open world creature capture. That's what Nintendo is filing a patent for and filing a lawsuit on. So any open world survival creature capture game would fall under infringement. This has nothing to do with Pocket Pair and Pal World at all. This is Nintendo trying to make sure that we do not get a good open world creature capture game. And why is that? Because Pokemon Legends Zeta A, which is probably going to be a watered down version of Pal World, is coming out here soon. And they want to make sure that the only one who's allowed to make an open world survival creature capture game is them. This is not a Pokemon versus Pal World thing. This is a Nintendo wants to be the only people making an open world survival creature capture game. And if you don't understand how that's not good for the gaming industry in general, I don't know what to tell you. This would kill an infinite amount of games, even becoming games, if this lawsuit does go through. If Nintendo is able to hold this patent and win a lawsuit for this, that means that there will never be any other open world survival creature capture game besides what Nintendo gives us, because the patent is broad enough that it essentially just says object. It doesn't say ball, it doesn't say square, it doesn't say rhombus, it doesn't say card. It's for the concept of creature capture in general. And Steven Trujillo has a pretty nice breakdown here, right? Where it kind of shows what the pattern goes over in the concept, where essentially your ability to use a capture object on something. So they're trying to patent the concept. Well, I guess not trying to, because the patent's already gone through in Japan, just not the US yet. But they're trying to patent the concept of creature capture. So even in games like Ark, where there's those capture spheres that you can throw at dinosaurs, that would fall under copyright. I'm sorry, not under copyright, under patent infringement. So that mod would be taken down. Actually, now thinking of it, Ark would also fall under it because you have the ability of capturing and storing a creature. That's how big of a deal this is. This lawsuit can't be allowed to win. Doesn't matter if you like Pokemon, doesn't matter if you like Power World. This is Nintendo trying to kill an entire genre of game.
The Power World lawsuit is not what you think.
Okay, listen up, everyone. Today's story actually does matter a lot. Nintendo are suing Power World, but it's not for the reason that you think. It's not because designs are too similar. It is cold-blooded business. And that is a quote. It's not just the opinion of me, some Westerner who doesn't understand Japanese law, trying to pump up the story for you. It's what Serkan Toto called it, cold-blooded business. Now, he runs a game consultancy firm in Japan. He is absolutely seen as a regional expert. He knows what he's talking about, and worse, for Power World developer Pocket Pair, he thinks Nintendo will win. Now, I get it.
Nintendo, keep in mind, Nintendo has a 100% success rate of winning litigation that they have initiated.
I think I don't play creature collectors. This doesn't matter to me. Well, the bad news is it does. This is a direct threat to what we all enjoy. It is a threat against the entire industry. And if past predicts future, Nintendo will almost certainly win because their domestic litigation track record is legendary. Now, I'm sure you know the phrase, if you come for the king, you better not miss.
There it is.
404 Media spoke to Dr. Toto, and it turns out...
Oh, look at that. It's Bellular. Oh my goodness.
That they started. So yes,
I stopped watching videos from Bellular a long time ago.
That's scary. That's really fucking scary.
Their lawyers are big brains with big wallets.
He watches
you. Up to beat them with today's sponsor. We're going to help you transform doom scrolling into actual lasting satisfaction. They're brilliant.org/Bellular News, who actually helped me benefit from my tech rather than be hijacked by it.
I know.
They make learning interactive and fun, where you basically learn by doing across thousands of interactive lessons in maths and data analysis, programming and AI. And it's all on their site and app that is gorgeously designed, where everything's interactive, which means you actually feel the concepts that you're learning.
Whoa, this video was like uploaded 1 hour ago.
Which certainly does match my experience doing lectures, where I don't really remember any of them, but I do remember things that I've done. Now, I love Brilliant because understanding STEM topics is vocational.
Of course you love Brilliant because they sponsored you. They paid you like thousands of dollars for this short ad.
How many people don't have any competency on reading a basic graph? Like, I didn't really realize this until I remember we did Schooled, and I was, like, seeing people look at graphs, and it was like, now I understand why the biggest problem in America is transgenders and not the national deficit or, like, inflation. Now I understand it. Because nobody knows what this graph means. Yeah.
It's packed full of real-world data from Airbnb, Spotify, Starbucks, and other big businesses where you'll learn how to parse, visualize, and understand data. Of course, your professional life will thank you, and these skills, like, say, deeply understanding probability, can help you stay grounded in the world. So, you can turn that doom scrolling into a daily learning habit at brilliant.org/Bellular News. There, you will get a 30-day free trial and 20% off an annual plan. I highly recommend them. Seriously, it is so much better than just scrolling around your phone achieving nothing. We first caught whiffs of this months back whenever the Pokemon Company finally responded, and edited for brevity, this is what they said. We have received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. We haven't granted permission to use our IP or assets and intend to investigate and take appropriate measures. So they said, we're looking into it. And
Pokemon basically said, Power World, we see you.
Certainly a little bit chilling. And reading that, we're all thinking the same thing. Did Pocket Pair yoink something? Did they rip a model from Pokemon? Did they kit bash using models from Pokemon? Allegations to that effect were all over the internet.
Abso-fucking-lutely they did, without a shadow of a doubt. They copied this shit. It's nearly 1-for-1, and the thing is that they're not even getting sued for that. You would have to be absolutely out of your fucking mind to think that Anubis and Lucario are not the exact same thing. I'm sorry. Come on.
VGC actually spoke.
Of course, they're not the same thing. If you look at the two design, there are little differences. So it's not the same thing.
Ripping the models, or at the very least, tracing them meticulously first.
It was proven that this was not the case, but the point still stands. Because for a while, there was like an idea that somebody had a smoking gun that proved that Power World stole the models. That proof was then disproven. So all you can do is look at the two of them. Anubis is an Egyptian god. Yeah, it's the god of death. I know that. Fucking obviously. It's the name that they changed. It's the character model, not the name. Everybody fucking knows that.
Again, objection, Your Honor. Not everyone knows that Anubis is an Egyptian god. For some people out there, there are 8 billion people on the planet. Maybe to them, Anubis is just the name of their dog.
About copyright protected designs. Rather, it's about patent infringement. And remember, this is...
I'm also not a fan of generalization, especially when there's like 8 billion people on the planet. That is a lot of freaking people.
Extremely expensive lawyers will not make that argument, but they will, of course, try to achieve your goals. And remember, Nintendo's lawyers are
it's kind of like a good example of like a parallel to this is that Al Capone didn't go to jail for being in the mafia or for killing people. He went to jail for tax evasion. So I think Nintendo's trying to look and try to take that same, it's a bit of a metaphor, right? Take that same approach.
Maybe because they couldn't find evidence of him killing people or being involved in crime.
Suing Colopool over patent infringement. And that's exactly what we're dealing with here. But what's spooky is the specific patents and how that litigation went down. And this is almost certainly, I believe, what they'll do to Pocket Pair because it seems like it's their playbook. They try to get them in patents. Here's a few of them. Quote, the special technology used to operate a joystick over a touch panel. Another one is a confirmation screen appearing whenever you resume a game from sleep mode.
What the fuck?
Toto summed up the others.
What
he said
the
this,
hell
quote,
is go-
and they have 5 other ones, including one for isometric, pseudo, 3D games, when the
where the character is hidden behind a tree, the game forms a shadow, so you have kind of a sense of where the character is, even though you don't see the character clearly. Nintendo has a patent on that, and this game uses that technology. Oh my god. Nintendo should patent gravity in games too, before somebody else does. This is a good idea.
Character is hidden behind a tree, the game forms a shadow, so you have
Why don't they just patent trees? Yeah, I mean, like, let's cut out the middleman. Let's just patent the tree itself. You see there's a tree in another game. Well, okay, well, fucking shut them down.
Sense for where your character is, even though you don't see your character clearly.
Terrence Howard
really
level
World
patents.
of Warcraft just added that. So many games have that.
Uh-oh.
Playing an isometric game, you walk behind a tall building, but you still see where your character is. Yet, that is something Nintendo actually used. They do hold those patents, but many would say those patents are so broad and industry standard that they're invalid. And that actually is a defense in Japan. It's one that, in this case, the defendant made. They said that Nintendo's patents lacked novelty and inventiveness and therefore are invalid, so broad that they're essentially meaningless. And this is where the story gets chilling. Nintendo didn't have to win. Colopel ended up having to settle. The settlement is, of course, a mutual agreement between both companies to come to terms and stop the legal...
Nintendo's going to try to bleed them out, basically. The issue, I think, with Palworld is that Palworld made so much money. And I think that if, like, because they are on Game Pass, etc., I think that Palworld is in a much stronger position to fight against this. The scummy fucks? Yeah, exactly. They can afford to fight them? Yeah. Nintendo's huge, though.
Make no
they
mistake,
can.
Nintendo
Or they
were
are,
not the
sorry.
losers here. And it's worse than that. The settlement involves Colopel having to pay Nintendo a licensing fee for those patents.
Insane.
Now, by the law of the land, Nintendo did not prove their patent claim, as far as my understanding goes.
Yeah.
Yet, even though they didn't prove that legally, they successfully strong-armed their target into number one, giving up a lot of money, and number two, into a licensing deal for those patents that many would argue are invalid by the law of Japan. But again, that argument did not get fully borne out.
See, I actually am really glad Bellior talked about this. I didn't know this. So there actually isn't a necessary precedent for this specific thing happening. That's good to hear. Maybe they're expecting Palworld to do the same thing.
Court, we don't have a legal decision.
Actually milking
and that's
them?
The thing.
Yeah, they are.
The legal system is supposed to uphold the law, but here, the system was the weapon, and the law didn't exactly matter. Palworld, then. Nintendo's filings are not public. That means we do not know what patents they're using. People over at Pocket Pair also don't know. But here's a Nintendo example that Stephen Totillo found in the US Patent Office, and there is crossover between the US and Japanese patent offices. You can see this amazing art. Throwing an item to catch a monster. We see some WikiHow tier art of it. We see a flowchart. And look, if it was Palworld, the Pterosaur would absolutely be holding an AK, but I don't think that detail is going to help
fought
Pocket
this guy.
Pal. So, let's talk about their response. Big Winston once said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And, well, Pocket Pair are leveraging their biggest asset here, their community. And, look, like it or not, whether you think a big rat creature...
By the way, this guy's pals are fucking garbage. This guy's character sucks. Like, this guy sucks at the game. I don't know who's playing here, but they're garbage.
With an AK is an artistically cohesive thing or not. The truth is that Palworld happened in a world where most of my generation loved Pokemon as kids and then drifted away from the franchise over a continued lack of innovation and pretty damn scummy business practices that just about nobody else is able to get away with.
I think that the reason why I stopped playing why I stopped playing Pokemon is because they made too many Pokemon to keep up with. That's, I think, the main reason why I stopped.
And you gotta catch them all, by the way. You gotta catch them all.
Yeah, same formula for 20 years.
You gotta catch them all.
It's just that there's too much to the game, and I felt like every game wasn't really that interesting. Like, Palworld was interesting because it brought in, like, new, unique dynamics. Yeah, there's no innovation. Exactly. Yeah, and I think that Palworld probably will run into this problem in 5 or 10 years too. I think that games like this, it's like what I said kind of like with gacha games, where I think gacha games like just natively have their own lifespan. Like you can only bring in your first Dami Mommy character to a gacha game once, and then every other character is like, you know, Kafka, right, was like huge, and then for like Honkai Star Rail, but like Jade, which is kind of the same thing, at least like in terms of vibe, is not as big as Kafka, right? And so that's really kind of the difference, right? Or like the first character that's like red or whatever.
In that
Just
context,
repeats itself?
Palworld
Yeah, it is.
captured attention, and it used extremely sticky and battle-tested game mechanics, base building, collecting, automation to hold on to people. That does mean the community actually likes them by and large. And so in this situation, they absolutely are David, and the rocks in their sling are the community. Let's talk about their statement. They start by reinforcing that they're small, how Palworld succeeded with the community, and they end with the real message. Quote, "It is truly unfortunate that we will be forced to allocate significant time to matters unrelated to game development due to this lawsuit. However, we will do our utmost for our fans and to ensure that indie developers are not hindered or discouraged from pursuing their creative ideas."
That's one of the big components here, is that if Nintendo is like upheld basically in being able to do this, it's basically telling every big company that the way that you want to make money is basically buying up all of the like conceptual real estate of video games, turning it into patents, and then making it to where you pull up the ladder from any other individual developer from being able to make a product that can compete with your product. That's effectively what happens. And it's bad for the end user.
And that's really the thing. This is just the beginning. This is a battle that will take years because it's legal and that's how it goes. Palworld, though, is not just a small indie company. That's where Sony actually entered the picture. So a few months back, Pocket Pair announced a joint venture with Sony Music Entertainment and an anime company called Aniplex.
Ooh.
Basically, right, they want to do what rocketed Pokemon and got, the Chin Pokemon episode of South Park.
Yeah.
They want to exploit the Palworld IP outside of video games through anime, through music, probably a card game, and everything you could imagine. And that's what makes...
I think if they did Palworld with like the same type of like grotesque nature of like Chainsaw Man, I think it could be really good. But I think Palworld is like a vibe that's like really hard to nail. That would go so hard. Yeah, it would, right? Explain that deeper. I think that what I mean is that Palworld has like a... What makes Palworld very good is the juxtaposition of the inhumanity with the cutesiness. So you have like these little cute animals.
What inhumanity? Those are fictional things. They are like technically objects. My goodness.
These vibes at the same time and not have it turn into...
They're not alive. Okay, guys. Game characters
actually be good.
They don't exist. They're like the modern audience. They're not alive.
Happy Tree.
If you're a gamer, you can't differentiate between real life,
it was on, I think it was
real life things and fictional things from the game.
And it was like a really weird
Guess what? You have a problem.
or something like
Maybe
that.
you should stop playing games for a while.
Yeah, Cow and Chicken would be a good example. Actually would be a really good example would be Courage the Cowardly Dog, right? But like it would have to be even farther than that. Because like you need a level of like grotesqueness that I don't think that even those shows had, because obviously they were like kids shows.
Me wonder here. Do Nintendo see this as a threat? It may not be a threat now, because I think Palworld is appealing to different people than just the core Pokemon experience as it is currently. But if you look at the likes of Arceus, you do actually see that, yeah, while Arceus was rightly
What
laughed...
a piece of shit. Look at this.
that for its visual presentation, it actually did innovate
Arceus.
gameplay, and it was way better than any of the other modern Pokemon games for sure.
Jesus
so they're maybe
Christ.
thinking, well, we want to innovate and push Pokemon forward. Maybe Palworld is going to muscle in on that turf. And they've also realized something. Palworld was scrappy. It was an indie. When you hear about the development, it does seem like a little bit of a technical shit show. But that's the thing. It will only get better and stronger from here.
Yeah.
And now it has got proper corporate backing with those joint venture agreements. So for Nintendo, if they see a rival brand to Pokemon, would they not rather kill it where it is now when it's small. And
Well,
here's
of course, that's what they're going to do. And also, it's now that Pal World has been successful, Nintendo stands to gain money from a settlement. Because if they shut down a really small studio, they're not going to make any money from that shutdown. But because Pal World now is holding a bag, they can get that bag.
I want to be clear. Every game developer should be against this, and I know that within the industry, many think that Pocket Pair are, in a way, creative hacks who couldn't even bother making their own in-universe version of a gun. They just grabbed an AK or an AR from an asset store and slapped it onto a pocket monster.
Which they did.
But that doesn't actually matter now. That doesn't matter. What matters is this dangers us all, and it's something that's happened before. It is common understanding that game mechanics cannot be copyrighted. Exact implementation can be, but not in broad strokes. You can't go and patent the Metroidvania format. I mean, we used to call...
But they would try to. That's the problem. Is that this is the issue, is that that's what you're really fighting against. You're fighting against people that are going to effectively try to gather up. It's kind of like, here's a really good example, right? Is like in America, I don't know if obviously a lot of people watch that aren't just in the US, but in the US here, we have like a really big problem with housing because like you have a lot of these like really big companies that are buying up housing in mass and then raising the prices on all of the houses. And so what's ending up happening is that now you have people that can't afford to buy a new home because almost all of the homes are being purchased by these like large real estate companies or even large investment companies that just look at real estate as a vehicle of investment. So what's going to end up happening is that games are going to go the same direction. Is you're going to see game companies that are trying to, now it's no longer about how to create a good experience. It's about how to not overstep on some sort of like other grounds that some company already owns. It's very bad. That's not happening to the degree you think. It's not true. It's much more limited than the media said. I think that you're probably right to an extent, but it's definitely an agitating factor, and it makes things harder to do for an average person. So yeah. I mean, like, it is happening. Now, the extent of it happening, it's a big problem. Like, I don't want to argue about how big of a problem it is or it isn't. All I want to say is that it could be a problem, and it's like a parallel. That's all.
It's now the FPS, a Doom clone. And yeah, if you're newer, you may not know that, but in the 90s, it wasn't necessarily FPS, it was Doom clones. But the idea of a first-person shooter is not something that id could go and copyright. But specific mechanics, well, those can be patented. And that's because copyright protects the usage of the things that you've designed or wrote, and patents are designed to protect mechanical inventions or
functionalities.
Processes. The whole point there being that if you actually make an innovation, the patent system protects your ability to exploit that, and in doing so, it creates a financial incentive for people to
be
innovate.
innovative.
The thing is, though, if a patent is too broad, it can become impossible to reproduce.
And this is the problem, right? Is like you need to have patents to an extent, but the issue is that people clearly try to exploit the system by making a patent broad enough to where they can effectively stop other people from competing with them. And that's the issue. Yeah, he brings up Nemesis. Well, Nemesis is an example, but this happens inside of all industries. Like, patent trolling didn't get invented with video games. Like, it's not like, oh, video games invented patent trolling. No, it's been like this for a long time.
Without infringement. And that's where broad patents are a problem. And this hurts you. I would actually say it has hurt you. You just don't know it because we cannot see.
Very great argument. Extremely great argument is that there are a lot of patents and types of funding and innovation that we don't get to take advantage of because companies hold the patents on them and they're being used as a way to suppress innovation. Yep. Very good point.
The road not taken. The Lord of the Rings, Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis
this is the best example people have.
True innovation, honestly.
Yeah.
It led to emergent gameplay within that game that actually saw people forgetting about the core progression and just having fun in the sandbox settling scores with orcs. It was fun, it was dynamic, and it was a relationship with our enemies in the game that was actually player-driven. but Warner Bros. Patented it. And thus far, nobody has got past that patent. And that means that one of the 2010's greatest innovations in gaming is locked within one of the worst publishers. So if you're a AAA game or a AA, you probably don't want the risk. What if you're an indie, though? Well, will a publisher pick you up and fund you, knowing that an American megacorp could just attack you? And even if you're a self-funded indie, well, what are the chances that you drop your trailer after working in secret for 2 years, your trailer catches on, and just before release, you get served with something by Warner Bros. And even worse, this chilling effect means that we're not seeing...
And you've got to keep in mind that even if you think that you can win the lawsuit, there are many cases where when you win, you still lose. Where the amount of money and time and just like mental, like energy that you're spending on this, is everything, right? Like, let's assume you've got all the money in the world. You've got all the money in the world. Think about just like the mental stress that something like that creates. Free market is gone. Well, that's the problem. Is that patents are made so people can benefit from innovation, but they're also made so people can benefit from preventing other people's innovation. And like, I feel like you have to have them, but there are clearly some of these examples that are too overreaching and too overarching.
Next version of the Nemesis system, the next iteration or innovation along those lines. That's the thing. Nintendo is a bad actor here. They are,
yes.
In my opinion anyway, using overly generic patents, not as a true attack vector, but rather as a mind-controlling parasite. Because this doesn't seem to be about winning the legal case.
Of course not.
It seems more an excuse to pick up the legal system and to harness it to maul your opponent to death, regardless of what a trial verdict may be, because as we just saw, well, they can pull you into a settlement that is amazingly favorable to them. Now, there is a story this week about development, about who I think you could call villains in the industry. It's about Unity. The whole Unity drama finally came to a close, and if you want to learn more, learn how.
Yeah, they've had to walk back another one of their fees. No, Unity's had to. Because like, remember what I said before, that I thought that it would affect Unity in the long term? It has.
And see what happened. Click here next.
Yep. They completely walked it back. They did, but that's not enough. The problem is that with business-to-business relationships, you need a degree of trust that's several measures higher than the degree of trust that you have with the customer directly. And that's a big difference that a lot of people don't understand, is that when you do business-to-business transactions, you are operating under a completely different set of rules than if you're selling to a direct consumer. And this is a good and a bad thing for different reasons. Companies already took their decisions. Too late, Unity? Exactly, right? It's like, basically, if you're a company, and think about it like this, right? If you're a company, do you want to build a castle on sand? If you've already had one instance of Unity being shown to be manipulative or to take advantage of you, do you want to risk that happening 3 years down the road when you have your game that's out and now you're making money on it? No, of course not, right? Exactly. And so that's why it's bad. It's bad because people have to make a decision. They have to make 5-year plans. And if you're showing instability now, that 5-year plan can't involve you. Whereas if you're a consumer and the company is like, oh, this company made a bad game, you're out $60, maybe $70. Who cares? Like, compared to like a company having like a fee that's 10% of their revenue. It's insane. Do you think intellectual property laws and consumer laws will ever be changed to favor new businesses and creators? Do you think the market is doomed to ever be strong-armed by big companies like Nintendo? I do think that it's forever doomed. I don't think that it has to be, but I think that it does have to be. I'll explain what I mean. The problem is that the average person is too stupid to understand what this problem is conceptually. Because people are so miseducated and undereducated and just simply not educated that they're unable to process and understand abstract thinking just as a wholesale like problem. And because of that, it's very hard for you to communicate this problem to a person because people can only see, well, if you look at Anubis and then you say Lucario, well, they look like the same to me. Well, I bet Nintendo's right. Look at them. Look at them. And that's the way they work, including the judges. The problem is that the judges make decisions on existing laws. And you need to have the people that are voting to change those laws to hold different companies accountable so they can't use this legislatively to control people and stop innovation. Can you communicate this idea to the masses effectively? I think the answer is no. I think that the average person, because everybody can vote, the answer is no, you cannot communicate this idea. The people are, you know it, I know it, and everybody knows it. But governments usually favor companies. But the reason why they favor companies, what I'm saying is that, like, this whole issue, it all exists inside of the context of having a voter base that is stupid, uninformed, and confident about their misinformation. That's the reason why it's a problem. Yeah, I do a good job explaining it. Yeah, but the problem is that other people can do... I think that you really... A lot of people really... They downplay the strength of emotional messaging. And emotional messaging, like I've said this before, the best argument is not an argument. And I think that that's basically what I'm trying to say with this. It doesn't matter how good your argument is.
Hey everybody, it's Endymion, and we're still dealing with the fallout of Space Marine 2 CEO comments and how many websites are still actively running witch hunts in order to get answers for what the CEO of Saber said. Beyond this, we'll also talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows and Sweet Baby's involvement and how the narrative there is utterly falling apart in incredible ways. Firstly, Space Marine 2. The game sold over 2 million copies in a few days, and the game is a certified hit, which is good for Saber and Focus Entertainment because they were actually giving players what they really want. Games Workshop could probably learn a thing or two about following a similar model as well, but as you may know already, Saber CEO got attacked by a lot of journalists for comments that he made recently. The too long didn't read it version is that Saber CEO commented on an Asmongold video where he was reacting to another video by Legendary Drops, who's another YouTuber. Pretty much, Saber CEO said that Space Marine 2 is an homage to old school gaming, and they didn't want the game to impose ideals or concepts onto players. So the CEO straight up was like, we wanted to make a video game that was fun, and then keep the real world politics and nonsense out of it. And I think I speak for all of us when I say thank you, Saber, for just giving people the game that they wanted, because this could have easily gone horribly wrong otherwise, considering the alternative. Anyways, like I said, these journalists are not letting up. They're doubling down. First,
again, they're not journalists. Come on. Stop calling them journalists, Endymion.
Answer for his so-called crimes that aren't really crimes at all. In their article, which I'll post the title here for you to see, IGN has been retweeting this article quite often on their socials. Obviously, they're trying to get more eyes on it in order to stir up a conversation or controversy somehow. It's not working. I mean, their articles surrounding
controversy
getting community noted
creates cash.
Saying that there is nothing.
Yeah, it's not a
journalist demanding compliance.
It's not a wild concept.
Doesn't really require it. IGN wasn't even the worst of it. PC Gamer, which seems to be just making a lot of slop articles lately, also chimed in during this time with their article titled Space Marine 2 Studio Boss hopes for a reversion to a time before games were imposing morals on players. And they say this as if it's a bad thing, considering the CEO is absolutely right, and PC Gamer is like IGN and others, they're just mad that they're losing the narrative war. As I said in my previous video, it was confirmed by Saber CEO that Matthew Karch did in fact say what he said. He even sarcastically responded to a comment on his LinkedIn about the post saying, "Whoever wrote that seems pretty sharp. Yeah, the CEO is having a laugh and good for him." He knows these people are insane. Of course, PC Gamer wasn't having it. They ended that article by saying, Wherever the comment originated, it's ironic that the subsequent discussion about messaging and imposing values is arising from Space Marine 2. In 2021, Warhammer 40,000 company Games Workshop released a statement explaining that the Imperium of Man stands as a cautionary tale of what could happen should the very worst of humanity's lust for power and extreme unyielding xenophobia set in, and explicitly condemning the presence of hate symbols and groups in the Warhammer 40,000 community. But here's the thing, PC Gamer. What does anything you just said have to do with what Saber CEO said? You're going on about hate symbols, condemning groups, but Saber CEO said nothing of the like in his response. The guy simply said that he wanted his company to make a fun game that didn't impose politics or ideas upon the player. It's interesting that you took what he said there and then in your weird leftist brain contorted it to say that what he was saying was actually hate speech. There's also this narrative that you'll hear from time to time that a lot of woke freaks will say, well, why is everything made by liberals as in art, franchises, etc., and there's no real conservative creators? The answer, in their opinion, is that liberals are just better than conservatives, and they have far more creativity, hence why they create all the time. But the truth of the matter is that the reason why this particular narrative is not true but is still being pushed, and is of course enforced by places like PC Gamer or IGN here as I showed, is because whenever someone actually comes out as conservative in any capacity, the same thing always happens. Which is, you freaks out there lose your minds, you go feral, and then you want to sacrifice these individuals upon some kind of blood altar for thinking differently than you. So the narrative that only liberals create things is simply not true. The actually far more plausible scenario is that many conservative-minded people, they make things all the time. It's just that because the woke freaks are insane and cult-like, the conservative-minded creators within these spaces, they have to essentially pretend that they too are liberal, or you weirdos will want to fire and blacklist them for simply thinking differently than you do. And I have conservative-minded devs in my DMs who've worked on a lot of your favorite games. Stuff like the Mass Effect trilogy, Dragon Age, and even stuff like The Witcher and Cyberpunk, they have plenty of conservative-minded creators on those teams. But the sad objective reality is that a lot of them hide who they are, because if they don't, they'll get excommunicated and blacklisted for something that frankly has nothing to do with their work at all. The fact that these journalists took what Saber CEO said, which wasn't a political statement per se, he just said, hey, we want to make fun games, no alcohol required. And then these publications took this and went, well, this is hate speech and conservative coded somehow. And they're basically asking for Saber to answer for their crimes, which aren't even crimes to begin with. It just tells you what you need to know right there. I said in my previous Saber CEO video that this was all just a witch hunt, which yes, I do in fact believe it is. But it's more than just that, it's fear-mongering and suppression at its most pure level. One side thinks that they deserve all the power and say in everything. And when another side says anything that goes outside of the other side's comfort bubble, the crazy side, in this case the liberals, they go feral and then they want to devour the person for saying whatever it is that they said. This is not normal, it's not okay, and frankly, it's kind of insane, and we have to stand up for people who do champion different beliefs outside of the norm. It's like when the Soul Ash 2 dev got swarmed for not wanting to add same-sex marriage in his game, and then liberal players of his game demanded that the creator condemn conservatives and also bend his knee to the LGBTQ+ agenda, as if him doing that meant his game was now okay to play. He didn't do that, by the way, which is why they continue to attack him, but he's been very firm in his Christian beliefs and then just told them to kick rocks, which they obviously don't like one bit. It's kind of like the Persian emperor in the movie 300. These liberal freaks, they kind of want everyone to submit to them in every single way. They want to control you in body, mind, and soul. Any rebellion against their tenets and demands is just considered hate speech. It's why so many weak-minded men and women fall to their ideology. Parasites that offer nothing, they want a home like any other. And when they found somewhere that accepts degeneracy as a societal norm and props up their insane beliefs, well, the weak will flock to the woke like moths to a flame. And it's so interesting to me that you'll have all these same websites posting articles like how PlayStation 5 Pro being more expensive is because Sony doesn't have any direct competition. And then they spend the entire article explaining why no competition in a space is a bad thing. But when someone makes something that goes against the monolith, they just try to tear it down like they are with Saber and Space Marine 2. Like, you guys can't be serious. You're always talking out of both sides of your mouths. Nothing you say is believable, because for every just action, the leftist gaming community takes 5 insane steps in other random directions and ends up unraveling it all as well. You want people who are strong and actually offer something to join your group, so to speak. So then you need to be strong and actually offer something worth believing and supporting in the first place to do that. But the truth is that they don't, and they know this. And it's always the machinations of weird supervillain types to resort to fear-mongering and silencing others when they don't get their way. Look at the absolute state of the industry right now, and Gamergate 2 for many examples to support this idea. The conversation surrounding Space Marine 2 and Saber CEO is, as Kotaku put it, a lightning rod for conversation like this, because they, as in the modern gaming press, have proven yet again that they will go out of their way to tirelessly attack anyone who doesn't agree with them politically or otherwise. It's why they're slobbering all over Dragon Age Veilguard, because it pushes the right politics. Yet we know if Dragon Age didn't have options like non-binary or trans surgery scars, these same publications would go out of their way to attack and criticize devs like BioWare for not pandering hard enough. It's why at this point, if you want to win any awards come that season, you need to ensure that you hit some, if not all, the checkboxes to ensure that you get your recognition. Because when you don't, you end up like Hogwarts Legacy. Sure, you sell more than Call of Duty that year, but you're also completely ignored as if you never existed come awards season. It's also wild how delusional these people really are. Ethan Gack, who pretty much led the weird hate campaign against Saber CEO, said this recently via Twitter while promoting his article that he wrote on Kotaku about this whole thing, to which he said, "You can like Space Marine 2 and want more games like it without pretending they are under siege by some shadowy cancel culture cabal." That's incredible to say, Ethan, when your article and all your buddy pals at the other websites have been doing the exact sort of thing a weird, shadowy cancel culture cabal would in fact be doing. Players, of course, are becoming more aware of the fact, like one user in the comments who said, "I'm not taking anything from a Kotaku journalist like you seriously," and then another who replied, "Senior reporter at Kotaku, buddy, you're literally part of the problem." Of course, they'll ignore comments like these, but that's why I feature them in my videos. Kotaku running a silencing gotcha campaign against Space Marine 2 CEO, then retweeting that article and saying, "What, we're not the bad guys? You guys can like the game. We're not weird cultists trying to get a CEO fired, except that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're not stupid, Kotaku, PC Gamer, or IGN. We know your politics. We know that you slant to the left. You make it abundantly clear all the time. And you also make it very clear that anytime someone who is openly right-leaning, that you go out of your way to slander them as much as humanly possible. I remember when the journalist came for Days Gone, saying that the protagonist was too white and had a name that was too straight and male. I remember when the journalist attacked Ubisoft for not making Far Cry 5 into a Trump-hating propaganda game. And I remember when you all kept saying that Black Myth Wukong's devs were sexist, even though you were disproven, you kept pushing it anyway. Sure, you can say that you're not a cabal of weirdos trying to silence conservative voices, but every action you've taken has done nothing but support the fact that you all have your heads up your asses so far, and you all refuse to admit when you're wrong. Because being conservative is not bad. Even if pretty much every institution will tell you otherwise, any weirdo who wants you to hate yourself because of your skin color or forces you to think one way is a psycho in my eyes. If everything I was saying wasn't true, then Saber CEO's comments would have come and gone like a fart at a busy concert. It would have stunk, sure, but people would largely ignore it and then just move on. And the fact these journalists have done anything but move on proves that they do in fact want to enforce their ideology and push their modern day witch hunts against anyone who thinks differently than they do. Just watch. Whenever the next developer or CEO or anyone that says anything that goes against their narrative, just come back to this video. And you tell me if it's the journalists who are telling you the truth or me right now in this moment. Some dev in the future will say, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this, and then just see what happens to them. Also, don't forget that Kotaku will say that they don't support witch hunts, and just ignore the fact that they went out of their way to publicly oust a dev who worked on Hogwarts Legacy for being a conservative. And then other websites echoed it, trying to get him to leave until he did. All it takes for delusion to take hold is for the good people to do nothing. And fellas, I'm sick of these freaks and their clear bias when it comes to the industry and beyond. I refuse to live in their false reality, and if something as innocuous as a YouTube comment can spark this much controversy, just wait until the next dev says anything that's out of line, then you tell me who the monsters really are. And now let's move on to Assassin's Creed. So the New York Times wrote an article recently trying to gaslight players into believing that they were wrong about the game and the Japanese people are totally fine with it. The New York Times also hired a consultant to help them translate the comments from the Japanese and then use this as a basis to prove this in their article. Except it has now been discovered that this consultant that the New York Times hired was none other than a former employee of Sweet Baby Inc. The person in question is named Kazuma Hashimoto. Don't harass this person, by the way, but it also turns out this person doesn't even use their real name in their consultation work. People have pointed out that the name Kazuma Hashimoto is the name of a character from a popular anime as well, meaning this Sweet Baby consultant is likely using an alias and not their real legal name, or it's one hell of a coincidence. Kazuma describes himself as such via Twitter. Happy Trans Day visibility. I'm Kazuma, a half-Japanese trans man who works in translation and journalism. I write media analysis primarily concerned with video games and Japanese pop culture. I'm a trans man who writes about politics and examines pro-imperialist propaganda in media, specifically video games, and occasionally post pictures of my cat. This Kazuma has written for places like Polygon and others in the past as well. This is what Kazuma Hashimoto and Zachary Small, who's the writer of the article, said via the New York Times, which has a heavy bias and again is supported by this ex-Sweet Baby Inc. employee. They said, and I quote, "It was people in the West who were upset with seeing Yasuke as a samurai, that many of the negative online comments written in Japanese appeared to have been roughly translated from English. The inclusion of Yasuke was the primary complaint. But observers also pointed to the presence of Chinese architecture and period inappropriate flags. The controversy became so heated that a small right-wing political party in Japan formally asked the government to comment on what it considered historical inaccuracies." End quote. I could read you more of the article, but pretty much what this Kazuma Hashimoto is doing here is trying to use their very obvious left-leaning bias to push the narrative that the story around Assassin's Creed Shadow is overblown, and not at all a controversy. Of course, like I said, they used to work for Sweet Baby Inc., which immediately makes anything and everything they say skeptical, and likely a fabricated lie being pushed as true for agenda purposes. I mean, this Kazuma refers to themselves as a political writer, so none of this really surprises me. Of course, people could ask, why didn't the New York Times get an actual Japanese scholar to help cite the article? Well, you know exactly why that is, because a real Japanese scholar wouldn't enforce the narrative that Zachary Small of the New York Times wanted to enforce. This Shadows article, it feels very reminiscent of that Black Myth Wukong IGN article, where Rebecca Valentine hired Ki-Hoon Chan to help them write that article, saying that game science was sexist, when it turned out that they were translating things in a very inflammatory sense to make it seem worse than it really was. And again, of course, you won't see the same websites that I spoke about earlier calling out Kazuma or Zachary for their blatant bias with the New York Times article. But they obviously went after the Saber CEO instead. But you also know exactly why this is as well, because one article is left-leaning, therefore it must be trusted no matter what its context. And the other one is nebulously conservative coded, even though it's not even confirmed that Matthew Carter, CEO of Saber, is even a conservative in the first place. But because his comments went against the grain, that's why they treated him the way that they did. And this difference is why it's so important to have unique individual voices in spaces like these. Because without YouTubers or places like Twitter or streamers or whatever, you just have to accept these as gospel, because you wouldn't really know without the added context. But now that you know this article and narrative was written by a Sweet Baby Inc. employee, you immediately cannot trust it because of what it represents in the broader picture. Of course, this same Kazuma individual is detailed in another article, also from that Park Place, where they detailed this same Kazuma individuals not being hired by other game dev studios because of their previous work with Sweet Baby Inc. Kazuma did a Twitch stream recently and said more about this. I don't want to share the stream because they will likely copyright strike this video. But they can't copyright strike me for saying what they said by quoting it, so they said via Twitch, and I quote, "A couple of months ago, the New York Times actually got in touch with me to ask me about Assassin's Creed, in which I was like, yeah, reception's honestly like kind of positive. And a lot of the comments you'd see under videos were like straight up like Google Translate comments, which is pretty obvious. And like people are annoyed with some of the inconsistencies and issues with shadows, which is like the buildings and stuff being wrong or certain clothing and whatnot, right? Or the fact that the art team basically stole a sign from a reenactment troupe in Japan. And that's actually like pretty common because when you're working with such a large team of artists, sometimes they're sort of given the direction to Google things and people make mistakes. It's more like you're working with a team of people that speak multiple different languages, and whether or not they can communicate with each other is an issue, and that's just become part of game development. I can say that I didn't do any consultation work on Assassin's Creed Shadows. The stuff I did with Sweet Baby I will never be able to talk about just because of the way that game development works, so yeah, it's really weird. I have a feeling that I'm going to get blamed for changes and decisions made on a game that I worked on that weren't even that I didn't even know about or wasn't even aware of or not even a part of. Because when you're a consultant, they just kind of pull you in and they ask you for suggestions, and whether or not these suggestions are actually taken is up to the director. People don't understand how much power a director and producer have in a studio and whether or not they facilitate those changes. There were definitely jobs that I've had where people have seen the fact that I worked for Sweet Baby. And it's been a year since I've worked with them, and it's just a contractual basis where I was just so periodically for a couple of years. People will literally be like, hey, are we going to get harassed for hiring you? And I think that really sucks. That instead of we'll protect our employee, the employer or the potential person giving you the contract will be more concerned about that than protecting their employees, kinda effed up, end quote. Well, no, I disagree with you there. I think those employers are actually very much in the right to do that for all the right reasons. You shouldn't feel obligated to hire someone because they worked for Sweet Baby Inc. The same way a company has every right to not hire someone if their past is something they find disagreeable with their company. While I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it's sort of like a criminal record. Many jobs, obviously, won't want someone who has one of those. Others will, sure. But it's up to the company. For example, if someone got convicted of being a P-word, a lover of children, and then they applied to work at a school that's full of children, yeah, obviously not hiring them is the right call. I'm not saying that Sweet Baby Inc. is the same as that, but arguably when you have something being made where its success determines whether hundreds of people keep their jobs, and if the studio will still exist post the release and so on, I think it's very important that these studios and those who do the hiring ensure that they don't do anything that shoots them in the foot in the future. So hiring someone who works for Sweet Baby is of course one of those things that'll make people go, oh, you hired one of those weirdos. Yeah, no thanks, I'm good, my wallet's closed. And to finish this video, I think I only need to show further evidence of the damage caused by the name that Sweet Baby does. Take God of War Ragnarok. It just came out on PC, although currently its maximum peak is just over 30,000 players, which isn't bad, mind you. However, compared to God of War 2018 when that came to PC, it's barely half of what the original game sold. Ragnarok, by the way, is a Sweet Baby game, so it's very likely that many players on PC know that Ragnarok is attached to Sweet Baby Inc., and they probably refuse to buy it out of principle alone, which isn't good for Sony, obviously, but this kind of proves what I've been saying. People are not entitled to jobs just because they need a job. You need to prove why you deserve the job in the first place. And if you work for something that has become synonymous with the utter destruction of modern gaming, well, you kind of reap what you sow. If Sweet Baby didn't want to be seen as a blight on gaming, they probably shouldn't have ruined so many games already. But they're not mad or upset due to what they've contributed to gaming. No, they're mad because they got caught and now they can't hide it anymore. And the public is clearly more informed than ever before, but like they say, you made your bed, so now you gotta lie in it. And if you want to put Sweet Baby on your resume, well, be prepared to get rejected, I guess. Maybe don't push communist woke freak ideas into everything you do. That's probably a good first thing to start with. As for the Shadows article, that doesn't really surprise me that it's getting blowback considering who they use as a source. And the Saber CEO thing kind of proves how this industry, which will lie to you and say that they don't hate people based on their personal choices, they just keep proving time and time again that they will absolutely go out of their way always to shun, attack, and try to destroy anyone who thinks even an iota different than they do. And that's why it's important we stay informed and only open our wallets to those who respect us. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have a great day. Subscribe. Thanks to my supporters, and I'll see you in the next one.
The world calls for wet work, and we answer. No greater good. No just cause. God. Cypher sent us to hell. But we're going even deeper.
Metal Gear Solid 5 is a masterpiece of stealth gameplay and action. It has some of the strongest gameplay in the series, and combines that stealth with mechanics and systems that tie together and build each other up.
Okay, so this video is also 2 hours ago, but
Easy to put a ton of time into. But it also has an incredible story, filled with unique themes, old themes that are...
Hey everybody, it's Indeed.
Okay, so I just went back here to give this a like.
The Palworld lawsuit is not what you think.
Okay, this one as well. Giving this one a like. Okay, look at that, guys. Wow, that is like 2 hours. 2 hours, 2 hours of just listening to content creators covering what's happening in the gaming space. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and if you did, please consider following the channel in Rumble, in Twitch, in Kick, and in YouTube. As always, if you're watching in any of the other platforms, please consider watching it in Rumble, because Rumble is my main platform right now. And if you are constantly worried about getting demonetized or your channel getting deleted, guess what? You don't have to worry. You can always move your content to Rumble. So guys, thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye for now.